Welcome back to the Gamecocks Football Captain's Log. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers, joined by my co-host, the captain of Morris Island Charters, Captain Petey. Captain Petey, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
All right. So, pretty big win last week against Akron, 50-7. We were without Rocket Sanders and LaNorris Sellers. Everything looked all right. But with a game like that against an opponent like Akron, with all due respect, how much could you really learn about this football team?
Very little. This was not more of a game of us being good. It was more of a implication of Akron being bad.
Yeah.
It really didn't seem like they really wanted to play us, and I can't blame them. They were just going to get. But what was that? Finley was just getting hammered the entire game, and I cannot believe they let him play 3 quarters.
No, it was – you never want to take wins for granted, especially when you're a Gamecock football fan.
Correct.
But I wouldn't say that made me feel anything other than slightly more positive than neutral. I mean, I guess it was good after watching Robbie Ashford look like he was going to have diarrhea on the field the previous week. He did look much better against Akron. Obviously, a little bit different than playing LSU. The running game without Rocket, not really something to write home about. I know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ashford was probably the best runner we had.
Yeah. And he was great. Again, 133 yards on the ground. But
that is really his true calling, is to be a rushing quarterback. His passing was not something that I would call stellar. I know he had a lot of yards.
Yeah.
But I would call that really just more of an indictment on Akron's ability to cover, because everyone was open the entire game. And we've seen how good our receivers are up to this point. And if they're all open all the time, that's more of a defense problem than it is a great receiver issue.
Yes. So we're 4 games in. Is the receiving core the most disappointing unit on offense for you so far? It's hard because I think they are really improving, and we're seeing a lot more from them. I would really like to see Nick Harbor try to figure out how to catch the ball without getting himself hurt. Yes,
but he seems to be a bit lost out there, and so I get why he hasn't been on the field. But still want to see him streak down the field on those, certain situations where you need a deep threat, and just give him that opportunity to take the top off. But Mazio Bennett obviously is our number 1 receiver. I don't think he's stellar. I think he has potential to be awesome. Gage came out of nowhere this week. But man, I think it's a tie between them and our running backs. If you take away Rocket Sanders, we have nobody. I know Attaway had 2 touchdowns, but good God, I could have had those touchdowns. And like so many times, I was like, how is he being tackled here? Because it seems so easy to take him down. Whenever he got the ball, other than those 2 touchdowns, it's just I have a lot of. Other than Juju, I love seeing him play. He's been there for so long. He deserves to get those rushing yards. But other than Rocket, what are we looking at? And makes me fearful what happens if he gets hurt again.
Especially this is a guy with pretty extensive injury history.
Yeah.
So I don't know, kind of speaking to Beamer, I guess I have to apologize. He talked about the receivers blocking on the outside and being bad at it. When you see Juju get opportunities, he likes to go to the outside.
Yeah.
And you see that the receivers don't really block well on the outside. And it's like, oh, and then to the like Nick Harbor point, the physical athletic freak, and to see him play the way he did against a team who has the athletes that Akron have, that was very concerning.
Yeah, I mean, we did try to get him the ball along with this game,
Yeah.
obviously, and I think we did a sweep around the end with him at one point. Was just, I think we need to get him confidence, and this was that game to try and get him confidence. But we really love to go outside. We don't have any kind of run game up the middle unless it's Ashford breaking loose, up the middle of the pocket. I am so scared of what's coming down the pipe for us as far as the SEC, the schedule we have.
Yeah.
But yeah, Akron is not a team to base anything of context off of.
No, like you'd like to be super happy and super positive moving forward, but I feel like we have the same amount of questions moving forward as we had coming into it. Defensively, felt like kind of the same story for me too. Like, what do you learn? What did you see on that side of the ball? Which, as we talked about, is improved this season, the defense for sure. But were you able to get anything out of this game in any phase of football?
Other than we're still not really good at DB. Judge Collier, I think is who got the touchdown thrown on him, and he just was in position to kind of make a play, but just jumped 4 seconds too early. And I don't know I think we didn't really take them seriously. And we kind of showed that in the second quarter and into the third. We just got sloppy.
Yeah.
Really sloppy. Had missed coverages, had undisciplined, plays, and just then we started getting injuries too, which didn't help. But I don't know what to say about this game other than we won a game we should have won, but made it kind of dumb.
Yeah, the rare, unsatisfying, 6-score game where you're like, we blew them out, but meh. So I guess let's look at the season as a whole moving forward. Actually, let's look back first. Position group by position group, we just touched on it with receivers, what are your most disappointing position groups? You already said running back and wide receiver for offense. How about defensively? I mean, it sounds like DBs, but I don't know how disappointing you can be if your expectations are in hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely better than it was last year, but this is not an elite group. This is maybe not even a mediocre group.
We're striving for mediocre.
Yeah,
that is Gamecock football.
We've heavily relied upon our defensive line, which is drastically improved. So that's probably our most improved position, this year across the board. And our linebackers are okay, but we're not, creating any stars out there. Yeah, but what are we? I think we're trending in the right direction. But is this a team that's really going to be a contender? No.
Do you feel better or worse compared to how you felt preseason about us being bowl eligible at the end of this now?
So I think we got to win 3 more games. Can we steal a couple games? Sure, but that's possible. It seems like we could probably we might beat A&M. We don't know what they are. Missouri's kind of had a little trouble this weekend with Vandy.
So that's the confusing part for me because Vandy, I'm now more scared of
Yeah.
They look like they know halfway what they're doing. And then Missouri, I'm like, man, that's a home game for us. Can we do it? But I feel like Missouri's always given us hell too. Just historically. Yeah. I don't know how much that matters, but it's like, man, I hate to see
other than their first year in the SEC, they've given us problems every game.
Yeah, and you're right. Like Wofford, we have to win Wofford, or I'll set myself on fire. We have to beat them. But yeah, A&M, you feel like you can steal one there, but I am even more confused about our schedule than the team itself because just of what's been happening just nationally. Because I thought Vandy had Missouri for sure. Yeah,
and I didn't really watch that game. I saw like maybe the last 5 minutes of it, but for Missouri to be a top 10 team, I don't care how good Vandy is. It's still Vandy.
Yeah.
You're gonna, you need to be blowing them out if you're a top 10 team. And I mean, what is there something wrong with, was Missouri really that overranked? Or they just have a really bad game? College football, man. What are we doing?
I think that's where I'm at. That's where all of this is headed towards. I don't know college football anymore. I don't know it. I don't know who's good. I don't know who's bad. I don't know who's in the middle. I don't know it. I used to know it. Now I have no clue.
Yeah.
Because Missouri should still be good. I mean, they did lose that running back who ran for 1,000,000 yards last year, but Brady Cook's still there. Generally the same team outside of the one running back. And they're struggling against Vandy at home. And that's crazy. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, that is insanity. That Vandy should, unless you're the Gamecocks, Vandy shouldn't give you any kind of problems at home.
Yeah, no, not at all. And then just looking down the schedule, so Oklahoma didn't look great against Tennessee. Obviously, they lost. A&M still ranked in the top 25. I don't get that either.
I don't understand how A&M is in the top 25 at all.
No.
But let's go back a second to Oklahoma. When they brought in that new quarterback, they were a different team. I only saw parts of the fourth quarter with Oklahoma and Tennessee, but obviously that quarterback, that freshman quarterback they got, is it Hawkins?
Michael Hawkins Jr.
Yeah, he is going to be good, and I think they already named him their starter for next week. It's just, I think he will give us problems because he's going to be a mobile quarterback. And guess what we do? We rush, and we beat up a quarterback that can't move.
Yeah, so I didn't even see him play. So that's upsetting. Oklahoma, they always do that where they have a quarterback that they just, hey, we're going into the season with this guy, and then, oh, wait. Yeah. Actually, we got a freshman. That's how we got Spencer Rattler, so I'm glad they do that. But, yeah, they didn't look great, so that's scary to hear. Bama, we got Bama and Georgia this week, and it kind of feels like Bama might be underrated.
Yeah. I think everybody expected them to take a step back this year. And I don't know if they haven't really been tested a whole lot yet this season.
Yeah, that's true.
We got Georgia this week, and Georgia struggled against Kentucky. And I don't know if that was just Georgia taking Kentucky lightly, but we'll find out who the best team is between the two of them this weekend.
Because Georgia, the past couple seasons, it feels like they're bored. It's like, well, if I can't go out and get speeding tickets, then I don't even care. Like, I don't even want to do this anymore. They've just done that. It cost them last season, and then losing to Kentucky would have been hilarious. Doing it a week after we beat Kentucky pretty easily, but also scoring 13 points against Kentucky, even though it's not a loss, still pretty pathetic.
Yeah. And that, I mean, I don't know how, if you're supposedly the number one team in the country, if you score 13 points against Kentucky, that is embarrassing.
It's just so sad.
Somebody is lying on who's the best team in the country at that point.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Ole Miss more next week. Yeah. But they've looked pretty good. Looks like Lane finally got Jackson Dart going as far as passing. But again, they haven't played anybody yet. So who really knows? And then I was going to check on Juice Wells, not their leading receiver. They got a kid, Trey Harris, who has 600 yards receiving in 4 games.
Damn. How was do you know what Juice's stats are?
Let's see. Juice, 4 touchdowns, 274 yards. So what's the math? They're about 70 yards receiving a game. So, yeah. I mean, still pretty good numbers. And they just, I tell you what, Lane's offense, I love that guy. He's crazy, and he throws the ball.
I don't expect him to have a great defense, but his offenses are going to be outstanding, and he's just going to outscore you.
Yeah. Yep. And that's pretty scary after all the time we spent talking about our defensive backs.
Yeah.
And I guess we finish up the season, as always, with Clemson. What do you think about them so far?
Well, they just massacred NC State, but I think NC State is probably pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I think they started a new quarterback, NC State did, that game.
That's right. So, yeah.
You know, Clemson's got a cupcake schedule like they do every year against the ACC, so I don't put any kind of merit into them blowing anyone out. That's just what, that's what happens when you're the only good team in a ACC conference.
Yes, which just saw James Madison hang 70 on North Carolina. Yeah.
Oh, did you see the shit about Mac Brown supposedly was quitting right
after? Yeah. He was like, I'm out of here, guys. And the players are like, no, don't leave.
I'm done. I'm 110 years old. I need to quit. This is not how I'm going to leave my legacy as it is.
I don't understand why, if that happens to me, like I love my players, whatever. Y'all are not going to convince me to stay after James Madison. I'm 87 years old. I've already won a national title way back. James Madison just put 70 on my head at home. I will be leaving.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can say to bring me back. It's over with. I'm cooked.
Yeah. What is it JMU? Are they in the Sun Belt?
Right? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You get 70 put on you by a Sun Belt.
70.
A team that wasn't even allowed to go to a bowl game last year because they were too fresh into the FCS.
Yeah, and it's just like,
or whatever you call it.
It made our defense look like the Bears in the 80s or something, like 70. They just kept going down because I was watching it. I couldn't look away. It was like a car crash, and I'm just like, just trying to process what is happening. I think it was like 50, they had 53 or something in the first half. And finally they slowed down, so they only ended up with 70 only. So you don't know about that conference. Maybe we should go switch to that conference.
Hey, we already have one ACC championship, 1969.
Let's go get it. Like the SEC, we gave it a good shot.
Yeah.
Just didn't go our way. There's no shame in that. We did make it. If not for Cam Newton, maybe. But it didn't happen.
Oh, for sure. Go. If it wasn't for Cam Newton, we have an SEC title. Because we were, that year we almost beat them. And then Cam Newton had a great comeback. And then we just got throttled in the SEC championship game by Cam Newton again. But
yeah.
Also, Marcus Lattimore had his lip ripped off.
Yeah. Dude, if it had been 12 playoff teams that year, would we have made the playoff? I cannot remember. Put you on the spot.
I don't think so, because I think we were only we were 8-5 that year.
Okay.
Yeah.
What a terrible. Anytime we're good,
we beat up on a really weak SEC East, and played well enough on the road to get to the SEC to the championship game.
Man, that was the story for that time period where our great years, someone else in the East would somehow also have an even more incredible year. And then like the one year where everyone was bad, we did make it to the title game, but then you go up against probably the best quarterback in college football in the past 15 years or whatever.
That'd be us. That sounds like us. Yeah.
That's Gamecock luck because they didn't have anybody on that. Have you gone back and looked at that Auburn team?
It was him. It was Cam Newton and Nick Fairley. That was it.
I was starting at left tackle. He did it anyways. He was a great guy. He let me wear his hats. So I don't know. Is there anything else to cover? We've talked about some of the future opponents.
One thing about the game, the Akron game, that I want to talk about. So why are we going for 2 points? Why are we giving this strategy away when we've not done it? I think we might have done it against maybe Old Dominion. We went for 4, or we did a fake field goal. But why are we doing all these trick plays and fake plays against non-conference teams that we are, and the game's not on the line?
Yeah,
this is not like it's a. What do we have to gain here other than showing Ole Miss or Alabama or Oklahoma what we do?
We're going to need those plays, and now they know those plays. I don't understand. Sometimes I think Beamer kind of gets in his own head where he's trying to show you, no, I know how to coach football.
Well, I have a theory that it's like, oh, I'm known for Beamer ball, which means I do a bunch of shit on special teams. So I got to show you I can do special shit on special teams, but I'm not going to do it against teams that are good.
Yeah, I got to do it where I know it's going to work out so that we can keep talking about I'm Beamer Ball Jr.
Yeah.
So y'all are going to Akron? Sorry, but you got to deal with this because that's a good thought because I do have a theory that like probably wouldn't go so well against Bama, and maybe you lose your Beamer Ball throne. Yeah.
Yeah, it probably, I'd say 99% of the time, it will not go well against Bama. But also, what do we need that extra point for? What's the difference between 14-0 versus 15-0?
Well, then you get to break 50 by the end of the game versus 49. That's Beamer Ball math.
Yeah, well, I guess we had to score as many points as UNC.
Exactly. We had to prove we could hang in the ACC if and when we make the move. Those are great questions because it was just, why not do it? Well, I guess we did actually. Didn't we? We went for 2 against LSU at some point last week, didn't we? Let me pull it up.
I think because it made sense mathematically, not because it was
not to show off. And I feel like it failed. And so he was like, I gotta get it back.
Yeah.
Jeez. That is a good question. I'm glad you brought that up because that was very confusing. But again, if you don't like confusing football decisions, do you like Gamecock football? I don't know.
Not at all.
Yeah, we went for 2 to try to make it 31-29 or 32-29, and we missed it. So it was just 30-29. And then we lost 36-33. Not that it would have mattered because maybe do your fake field goal instead of playing Alex Herrera into a 70-mile field goal to end the game there. Maybe do some trickeration there. Shane Beamer and friends.
Yeah. I don't, not to beat a dead horse, but we're complaining about the same things we've always been complaining about.
The horse is dead. It's beaten to death. But we have to keep beating it because nothing's changing. So if they're not going to change, why would we change? It's not our fault.
No.
He could just do something different and please us.
We just have eyes. We have thoughts and we have eyes. And
we can't hop up in here and lie and say, oh, you know what? Actually, made perfect sense to go for 2 against a team you're going to beat by 40-something points. That's silly.
I'll stop complaining when he lets me come down there and call the plays.
He should. I guarantee we could do better than Dow Loggins.
I really feel like we need somebody that's just like, plays NCAA like 24/7, and then just calls down to the field to say, hey, you need to call a timeout here, or you need to, some kind of like game management skill here that's, that someone's not on the field and you're wrapped up in it, like kind of the God complex. You can see what's going on in the field,
yes.
Where down on the field they're kind of a little wrapped up in their own little hemispheres and stuff. Like you need an overall thinker.
So Brett, who, if you've been on this channel long enough, he was formerly of Brett's Bets. He's explained this theory to me, how he thinks coaches should just hire a Madden player to strictly handle game management stuff like timeouts. Yeah. Because Madden players will have, or NCAA football, now that that's back, will have more experience since you're playing so many games in a day versus just having to deal with it a week at a time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you got, a coach that's in 12 games a year versus a video game guy who is
he'd do that in a day,
hundreds of games a year.
Yeah, it just makes sense. But the coaching ego probably would not allow it. The same thing that's making Beamer go for 2 for no reason. Yeah, is why he would not hire your local Madden player or whatever to manage his timeouts for him.
And when he comes to his senses and puts the job up, posting out there in the world, I'm the first one to apply.
Right there. It's probably going to be on Indeed. He seems like an Indeed position. So, and you will have the support of the audience fully when you apply for it. Put us all down as references. So do we have anything else to cover?
I don't think so.
That is Gamecock football right there. All right, so we get the week off this week. Can you give the people a good tip on what they should do with their weekend since they don't have to watch such a frustrating football team? What's some fun that we can do to prepare us for the rest of this season? Because I will remind everybody, as we've just talked about, we have hell coming up for us for the next month or so.
Get outside. Enjoy. I know there's a hurricane coming, but it should be, if you're in the Charleston area, it should be over with by Saturday.
You'll be all right.
And book a tour with Morris Island Charter so we can go find some shark teeth. Who knows what will be uncovered by Hurricane Helene.
Exactly. I think if you book a tour with Petey, that's going to be in the show notes as always. He will also explain to you his timeout strategy in NCAA football. Did you get the new NCAA football, or are you still playing the old one?
I don't have a PS5 or anything. They don't put it out on PS3 or PS4, so
that stinks.
Disappointing. Unfortunately, I don't have the funds to go out and buy a PS5 for no reason.
Who does?
Other than play NCAA.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. You'll be outside anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right, then. We will be back next week. Can't lose this week, so that's good. And we'll talk about Ole Miss, unfortunately.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.